space for students to learn at their own pace with the teacher's help, and a way for me to assess my own teaching practices and adjust to the students' needs.
With the help of learning management systems like Canvas and other educational tools, we teachers do what we do best. We adapt, we teach, we facilitate, we nurture, and we support our students to become the best versions of themselves.
Welcome to FEU.
For you, we are creating spaces.
For you, we are creating spaces.
Hi Tams, how are you doing? I hope you are doing safe and fine. Did you know that all FEU faculty are proficient in the two flagship technology systems of FEU, the Microsoft Office and of course, Canvas. We have done extensive training on this and other programs so that teaching and learning are easier and more responsive. We are also well versed in the principles of online learning that makes teaching and learning more relevant. Welcome to FEU. For you, we are creating spaces. Hi Tams, how are you doing? I hope you are doing safe and fine. Did you know that all FEU faculty are proficient in the two flagship technology systems of FEU, the Microsoft Office and of course, Canvas. We have done extensive training on this and other programs so that teaching and learning are easier and more responsive. We are also well versed in the principles of online learning that makes teaching and learning more relevant. Welcome to FEU. For you, we are creating spaces.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this FEU's Y Talks event for this school year. I am Karen Lane Zelda, one of your moderators for today's Y Talk session, and with me is Ms. Jam De Jesus, one of our admissions officers.
We appreciate your attendance in this special event, the first series of Y Talks for this school year. Just to give you a brief background, taking into account the 2017 Deloitte survey showing that millennials consider themselves to have a fair degree of accountability for many of the world's largest challenges, even though they feel that their influence has limitations. They feel empowered and efficient when they support good causes, even in their own little ways. Far Eastern University launches the FEUY Talks in 2018 as a platform for the millennials or the Generation Y to share their socially relevant perspectives and advocacies. With high school students as audience, this talk series aims to level up the quality of discourse involving the country's future leaders.
For today's session, we have invited the one of the best in the industry, a very well-known person whose experience is well suited for our audience. Our speaker is willing to share her inspiring story, how she dealt with the challenges she encountered in her journey of success, and of course, the reasons why she chose her college degree and how it affected her current career. And from here, this might be an aspiration to help our audience in their own journey to success. With this, Let me turn this over to Dr. Mirna P. Quinto, the Vice President for Academic Development in FEU Manila and Executive Director of FEU Cavite, to deliver the opening remarks.
To all the participants, to my colleagues from FEU Manila and FEU Cavite, my dear friends, good afternoon and welcome to the Y Talks, a program of Far Eastern University that aims to highlight the achievements of millennials in various fields. I personally believe that no person has monopoly of ideas. I also believe that maturity and wisdom do not always go hand in hand. I am sharing this because I believe that our speaker epitomizes insightful experiences at a very young age. And I am proud of her because she is an inspiration to the young, that now is the best time to take calculated risks, to explore the world, and find one sense of purpose or meaning. As you all endeavor to start a career in the university, my word of advice is explore. You will never know what truly make you happy if you do not explore. Through this journey and process, you will experience ups and downs, and that is perfectly fine. When you fall, you should learn how to get up and get up with your head held up high, because this implies that you have learned your lesson and are willing to give yourself a second try. At FEU, we create a nurturing community. Our curriculum is difficult to hurdle because we want you to experience quality education and to bring out the best in you. But we are here on standby all the time to help those who have harder time coping with the challenges of higher education. The Y Talk session today is an example of how we positively and constructively engage with our students and future students. Enjoy the session today and learn nuggets of wisdom. Once again, good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mirna Quinto, for that inspiring message.
To introduce the guest speaker for today, may I call on Ms. Michel Evangelista, Coordinator for Academic Development.
Good afternoon and thank you. Our speaker for today is an amazing young lady. At the age of 22, she started her career as a support engineer in Oracle NetSuite immediately after graduation back in August 2018. Then he worked her way up to the Oracle Platinum team and eventually shifted into becoming a developer of technical consultant. After more than 2 years at the age of 25, she climbed up the ladder as a project lead Oracle NetSuite developer. She is currently residing in Abu Dhabi. She loves sports, especially free diving and chess. She's also a former competitive figure skating gold medalist that has represented the Philippines in Skate Asia back in 2013 in Thailand. Above all, she is an adrenaline junkie. She's one of the first few licensed female Filipino skydivers. She plans to travel around the world and skydive in each place as her work is fully remote and it gives her flexible hours when working on a project. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our speaker for this afternoon, Ms. Justine Claire Alfonso.
Hi everyone. Thank you FU for having me. So yeah, I'm Justine Claire and I'm currently a project lead Oracle NetSuite developer. I'm residing here in Abu Dhabi, UAE. So yeah, so to start, I'm here to show you what's in store for a millennial who is full of passion and drive. And so yeah. the first stage I would like to share with you guys is thinking or deciding what path to take. So some of you might already know what you want to take, or but like are still open to other things, and some of you might still be clueless. So yeah, let me share you my story. So I'll start here with my high school graduation because I think this is where things really began for me. And with this comes the decision like what course or which school or like what do I do next. And so two of the things that I remember thinking about at that time is passion and reality. So for me, passion is what I love, and then reality is what I really am. I mean, like, yeah, I would love to sing, but am I a good singer? No. So
Um,
I do love sports,
I'm sorry,
and
po.
I
Sorry. It seems
yeah.
like the presentation isn't flashed yet, po.
Ah, okay, really. Um, okay, so here. Mm, there. Is it already on? Okay. So there we go. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so going back, where was I? So I was there. So two of the things that I remember thinking about at that time, when I was graduating high school was passion and reality. So like what I said, passion is what I love, and reality is what I really am. And I do love sports. I love the adrenaline and I love being in competitions. And aside from sports, I also actually thought about like designing clothes because I like to dress up. And even though like I'm not that good, like I wanted to take fashion design and create my own line as a business, things like those. I was back in high school. And then like but I know I'm not this person innately. Like those were merely types for me at that time, or like hobbies I really enjoyed doing. So yeah, I know I'm someone who consistently likes puzzles even more, like not just for a particular time, but I'm one of those people who get satisfaction in solving challenges. And above all, I'm someone who is endlessly curious. And yeah, there's always this thirst for knowledge on like how do things work, like how does my cell phone work and why does it work that way, things like those. Now what I want to point out is that for me it wasn't all about doing what I love, and for others it may be, but in my case that thought led me to a field of study wherein I know I'm good at, and I might not be the best at this, but at least I know I can make it because I know I'm good at it and I like doing what I'm good at. So, yeah, it led me there. Apart from that, I also focused on myself because alongside me differentiating what I love from who I really am, I also had external factors to consider, like my family and my friends. And I think you guys are going through the same things, like what your friends or want to take or what your family wants you to take and things like those. But I just want to say that please don't let the pressure of being with your friends, like having the same course or going to the same school, like like fear of missing out, things like those. Don't let that fear drive you into doing something that would eventually like leave you into a feeling that you know it yourself, that you only chose this course because of the influence of others. And if you're one of those like who are consistently thinking about what your parents would want you to take because that time for them it was really a high demand or things like those, but I want you to understand that just because the demand was high for their time doesn't mean it's still the same now. So they were born and raised at a very different time, and their success does not guarantee yours. So it's a different time now. and we're under different circumstances. So I'm not saying entirely, but yeah, there has been a lot of major technological advancements recently, and it is what it is. So yeah, we just have to deal with the fact that the world is changing, and we should all be open to change. So I'm not saying we have to accept it, but it's something we really have to deal with. So there we have it. I look back at the past few years, and I was actually struggling to know who I really am and if that's me. Like, is it really? Like, I did look for a guide, but not in others. I just looked for a guide from the past records of performances I had. Like, it was a guide for me, like which subjects did I excel in. So I looked at my grades, and I found consistency in math, science, and computer. So those subjects, and I just had to choose. I was like, okay, should I follow the sporty side in me? And yeah, it would be nice if I could skate forever and not run out of money. But yeah, I researched more about math and computers, and I eventually chose computer engineering. Like, it's math, and I wanted to be an engineer. So I wanted to know how computers work, how they were designed, built, and what makes them smart or fast. I saw a really clear path towards success at that time. And so, yeah. So fast forward into the part where I get into college. And yeah, I had my fears and doubts. I was living outside my comfort zone. I had this fear of failure. I was also struggling with a new environment. I had my challenges, and it was really intimidating. Like, I was very much intimidated because being around so many smart people. I mean, most of the people are really smart. Like, some of them are just really nerdy. And like, you know how you go on social media and people are posting their new phones and whatnot. And I was around a different crowd at that time. And some of my blockmates were showing off how cool their new scientific calculator was. And it could store like a whole periodic table of elements. So that was like a really different environment to me. And not to mention, I grew up in an all girls school and I didn't really have a brother. So being in a course dominated by the male species is something new to me. And I didn't, apart from the fact that I was scared not to fit in, which is normal, like, I learned that it's okay to be scared and feel alone. But what's not is to let that fear consume you. So I got past it, and yeah, it became okay for me for a time. But after some time, like a year and a half into computer engineering, my ideal career path, my passion, and my identity, they were all like in conflict with each other. So because I started to really miss figure skating, and I started to think, like, do I really want to learn all about these things of a computer? Or like, did I just hype myself because it was engineering and I would become an engineer or something like that? So yeah, I did stay in computer engineering for 2 years actually. I did fail some subjects, particularly chemistry, over and over again. So I was really down. And there was this one subject that I had, and then it made me feel um, a very familiar feeling. It made me feel alive again, like how I used to love math and computer flowcharts and everything back in high school. So I checked my curriculum and I saw that there were only 2 to 3 programming languages subjects there. So here comes the millennial in me. I think just after a semester, I became really aggressive about it, and then I just shifted to com sci. So I chose com sci because I saw that degree would focus more onto programming and other theoretical things. and I didn't have to repeat subjects, which is really costly. And yeah, I think my mom would kill me. So there we have it. So COE, actually, from my standpoint, it was like designing and building the computer was the hardware and some software too. But yeah, I wasn't able to fully grasp it as I was just like almost 2 years into the course. But for ComSci, like I've listed down here the principal areas of studies. So there's artificial intelligence, computer systems and network, security, database systems, human computer interaction, vision and graphics, numerical analysis, all these things. What I love the most is programming languages, cloud computing, software engineering, and improving microprocessors, bioinformatics, and the theory of computing. Now, I don't particularly remember all of this. Like I specialized in programming languages, so yeah. And so what I do know basically is like in COE, the gist is like if you were to build a robot, you would design and build that robot. But in ComSci, it's like you were given that robot already, but how do you make it smarter? Like how do you add more functionality into it so it becomes alive or like a human? Things like those. And apart from those two courses, I had my other shenanigans, like my college life. So yeah, I was actually surprised to have like some sort of an idea of career goals in college because back in high school, I didn't really take life so seriously. I mean, hindi naman ako patapon, pero I wasn't exactly the best student ever. And aminado naman ako doon. So yeah, I joined student advising and then I was part of the student council as well. I was also part of some orgs. So although my career goals wasn't really defined yet, like all I know is that it's good to be active and involved with organizations within the community you're in. Because that way you gain friends and connections and you have a sense of belongingness. Like, okay, this is where I am and I have friends here, things like those. So apart from these like career goals, of course, like I also had my other side of me that will never fade away, I hope. So I'm here to say that like college isn't all about getting good grades. So you could get into a good company that has a good pay, or like the other side of it, na it can't be all partying all the time. So I mean, in my experience, it doesn't work that way. Like it should be a balance of things. So some may have the best of both worlds, like they have high grades while also living the college party life all together in one, and they can balance it so much that if you can, why not? But it's not always the case for everyone. And in my case, I wasn't that smart. Na like I would drink the night before instead of studying, and then I would go to school next day, and I would be the highest in all of the quizzes. So yeah, I had my partying days and some modeling ones, but it just lang yun. Plus mainly sports and adventure. So that was basically my college life. And then fast forward to the years that I was already dealing with our thesis. Personally, I wanted to go with augmentation, like augmented reality. But as fate may have it, like I was grouped with two of my very, very wholesome friends. Unfortunately for me, both of them wanted to go with artificial intelligence. So there you have it. We studied about convolutional neural networks and such, which I don't remember that much anymore, to be honest. But yeah, like our main study was regarding this machine learning, and we were training that machine to recognize videos, specifically recognizing nudity. So you can just imagine our sample data where we had to go into various rated 18 websites and download as much rated 18 videos that we could feed our prototype. So yeah, my thesis, we were justifying it as like a concern that the crime rate relating to rape or sexual abuse is caused by early exposure to porn. So yeah, it was like a legitimate way to watch porn in the school library because it was for educational purposes. Though it was really fun. And so yeah, what eventually happened was we failed our thesis defense a couple of times and I got delayed for a year and a half. And yeah, it was sad, but eventually we passed, we made it. And then now graduation day was in my timeline. But before I could graduate, I had to do my OJT. And I was really lucky that Emerson Network Power chose me as one of their trainees. And eventually they wanted to hire me. But at that time, even though their offer was like 2 to 3 times more than some companies I applied to, because like while having my thesis and OJT, like I was assuming that I would be graduating already. So I was applying to various companies beforehand because I didn't want to graduate and then like not have a job. So I was like thinking ahead, like, okay, after graduation, I already need to have this job ready for me. Things like those. That's why I was already applying. So, but I did want to broaden my horizons. Like I didn't want to have just one big offer apart from all the some of the offers I had. Like I wanted to have like at least 2 to 3 big offers and see for myself which company do I really want to work for. But at that time I wasn't getting any other big offer and I was like, okay, so maybe this is really what's in store for me. So yeah, but like a little patience can go a long way. Like for example, way back thesis days, wherein I thought I was gonna pass. I was in talks with a recruiter from Microsoft, but when they learned that I wasn't actually graduating yet, they said like, okay, get back in touch with us when you're graduating, when you're already actually graduating. So I did. However, there was no response, and a few days later, thanks to patience, Oracle had reached out to me and wanted to do an interview. So we did, and it was a couple of really big interviews. Like first, it was an online assessment, and it was not just one assessment. I think it was 3 assessments. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but all I know is like I think there were 3 to 4 interviews after that, or I think 5. But I know there was a lot. So yeah, they liked me and I liked them, and I also liked the offer, which was higher than the first one I got. So which was really nice. Now I had 2 companies to choose from. So the lesson here for me was like patience and knowing your worth. Like, one company offered me like a really low starting and told me that you should be grateful that this is already a starting. Most people would be thankful or cannot even achieve this, but at that time I was consulting like my mom and my friends, and they were like, no, that's not true. So you shouldn't, I mean, for me, I shouldn't always believe in things like those. Just always know your worth. So eventually I chose Oracle. And because Oracle for me is Oracle and the offer was much better. Although it was night shift because our clients were in North American time zone, I was earning more than twice the normal entry level salary in the field. So it was a really good deal. But then I had my in-betweens. Like, aside like my own thoughts, there was this voice in me that kept asking myself, like, do I really want to do this kind of work? Like going to office and programming and all. Like I'm always doubting myself. So yeah, but then it was what I'm good at, so might as well enjoy it. I was thinking that to myself. But yeah, before entering the corporate life, I wanted to go skydiving and traveling. So directly after my graduation day, I think 2 to 3 days after it, I went to Dubai because I have an aunt there and she was inviting me over. So I was like, okay. And then I went to Dubai for about 7 to 10 days. And I did some sightseeing, adventure, and then skydiving. But what struck me the most was skydiving. And I told myself, okay, after a year, I want to get my own skydiving license. Now, this was August 2018. When I got back home, I also did some recreational figure skating, but I was like, okay, I'm not as good as before, and I don't have time to train, and I can't do competitive figure skating because I didn't have the time. So one thing I did learn in Dubai was this, like I used to always hear about like finding a job, doing what you love, and then you never have to work. Like a lot of people would say that and they used to think, yeah, that's right. Well, I should do that. I should find a job doing what I love and I should work, related to that. Now, some or maybe even most of you might not agree with me on this one, but over the past few years, I've come to realize that it's not applicable for all scenarios. Like, for me, it wasn't applicable. So I was so jealous of skydiving instructors because their job was so fun and they get to do skydiving every day. Like imagine skydiving 3 to 5 times a day. Like that was the dream, like for me. But I had this really interesting conversation with one of them. And I told him I was so jealous. I want to shift my career. Like I don't want to work in the office anymore. I don't want to do that. Even though I haven't really done it. Like just the thought of working in the office like that. I mean, these skydive instructors, they earn so much and they do what they love and all. And it's so exciting to jump 5 to 10 times a day. And I wanted to do what he was doing, but he told me, no, you don't want that. And I was so confused, like, huh? I mean, I thought he was like discouraging me in a really bad way, but then he told me, he did explain that mixing passion with career can be really luring. Like it can lure you so much, like it actually for most people seems like a really positive thing. But for me, okay, like um in reality, like he told me what you're actually doing is making your passion something now you'd have to do rather than something you'd want to do. Like skydiving every day, 5 to 10 times a day, took out much of the fun in skydiving in him because he now had to rely on this to earn money rather than doing it for fun. So I'm not sure if this makes sense to you, but it made sense to me. Like he was telling me like he now needed to do it even on days like he didn't feel like doing it. And it's like eventually he got into a feeling like he was being forced to do it because it is, it's its way of earning income. And okay, so having said that, I told myself like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Claire, you're in the right path. So stop doubting yourself. So yeah, skydiving is fun, but this programming here, this is what I'm good at. And isn't it fun to do things you're good in as well? And it also like gives a good pay. So I stuck with that. And then after my little adventure in Dubai, I went back in the Philippines and I started my work life. With a new mindset, like I wanted to focus with my career then. But at that time there was still this part of me that like was like I still feel young. Like I was only 22 at that time. And I didn't want to get stuck with a job that's taking more than 50% of my day. So I wanted to build up my career in a way that I still enjoyed life. So I didn't let my work get in the way of doing the things that I love. In fact, I even joined like a figure skating competition months after I did my first onboarding job. Because it was night shift, so I had like a few hours in the morning and afternoon to train. Yeah, but after that one competition, I was like, oh, I really can't because it's too much and I need rest. Apart from that, I did travel. Um, al- when I joined Oracle, I traveled like almost every other month, I think. I went to Korea, Bali, Hong Kong, Singapore, like I think I can pretty much say that most of the millennials really love traveling, or like even like other generations, I guess. But most of my friends are they really love traveling, and I was also like one of those who love traveling. So I also did go around the Philippines. So basically what I kept in mind is that I'm earning well, doing what I'm good at, and I get to do what I want and enjoy it while not having to think that this is my source of income. So going back to the career choice I made, going back to the Oracle ladder, like I was assigned to a team because once I got into the company, there was like 3 to 4 months of training period. And then after that, you'll be deployed to the floor and then you will be assigned to the team you're supposed to be with. So yeah, once I got to know my team, it was all about teamwork. So letting others help and then also helping others in need. So you have to let others help you. Like I couldn't be like a fresh grad who already knows everything and doesn't need anybody's help like that. At some point, like all of us would need help in the first few weeks, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. So yeah, after a few weeks though, like to a month, there was this new batch of newbies that were coming into the floor, and most of my seniors that were training me, they were leaving for better opportunities. So I was one of the people who had like still little knowledge to share, but I had to step up and share as much knowledge as I could because nobody, I mean, like in the floor, like we were the ones who could actually tell them and share knowledge to them already. So I think this was the turning point for me, wherein I told myself that okay, um, I shall take this as a challenge. And one thing led to another. Most of the new hires at that time kept asking me if like what to do when this happens, or like I don't know what's happening here. Can you help me? Things like those. So we were a team. It was a really good teamwork. And after a while, uh, a position from Oracle NetSuite Platinum team, um, as I was from the regular operations team, one position there opened. And I was one of those who had a high productivity. So someone asked me like, hey, do you want to apply here because there's an opening? And to me, the Platinum team was a dream team. Like they catered to Oracle NetSuite's high profile clients. And I can't really mention the companies specifically, like due to data privacy. But yeah, they're really, really big companies, like big banks and fast food chains and social media companies, like really multinational and worldwide. We were handling their accounts. So there we have it. I'm now climbing my way. And my timeline was like entering Oracle NetSuite last 2018 August, and with 3 to 4 months training, and then after a few months regular operations, and then off to the Platinum team. But then going back to my goal, as I mentioned earlier, after graduation, I went to Dubai and told myself after a year, I will get my skydiving license. So then and again, I had to make a choice. And I did make the choice. I took 1 month off Oracle my work. So by November 2019, which was exactly a year and 3 months from when I first joined the company and told myself that I'll get my license, I went to Dubai. So I was climbing my way and focusing on my goals. Like, while I was also climbing up, trying to climb up the corporate ladder, like, and I was still pretty much at the bottom. Like, it didn't stop me from reaching my other goals. Like, I had a lot of goals, and I know some would say, like, no, Claire, you can't have it all. I mean, like, it's not that you can't. I mean, for me, like, but I think I can, or like you can, like, you know, you can have it all, just not all at once, I guess. So that was the mindset I wanted to, I was fixating on. So I went back to Dubai, and since I promised myself I'd get that license, and I eventually just fell in love with the place. I fell in love with everything. So during this time I was so hyped, I was so excited, and above everything, skydiving was giving me all the adrenaline I needed to feel the excitement I lost when I stopped competitive figure skating. So at first it was really difficult for me. But the thing is, like, the hardest part of skydiving is not really jumping, but rather the landing. So most people would think, like, when you jump, oh my gosh, it's so scary. But it's actually the landing, because when you jump, there's nothing there. It's air. So you don't die from when you jump there. I mean, like, not unless you have a heart attack. But like, when you jump, there's nothing to hit you, unless like there's this plane that's passing by and you hit that plane, or like fall on that plane. But it's unlikely, because the airspace is already bought by the drop zone. So there's no other airplane that should pass by there. So anyway, going back, like, it was really the landing that was dangerous for me. Um, the landing was really, it's really deadly. Like, people die in landings than in jumping off the plane. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 13,000 feet or 1,000 feet above. Like, it's that if you land incorrectly, then you die. I mean, you could possibly break a few bones and then you die. But yeah, upon getting my license, things seemed to get a bit more complicated, as I really wanted to skydive more, which I couldn't do in the Philippines. I mean, I could, but I would have to go all the way to Cebu just to skydive, because there's this island there, Bantayan Island. And yeah, it was like, I couldn't do it by car. As compared to Dubai, I would just drive, and it would be a few minutes away. So at some point, I wanted to live here, and I told myself, why not? Okay. And since I wanted to pursue my passion in skydiving, I told myself, why not try to see if I could land a job related to my field? So hitting two birds with one stone, I was thinking that, like, oh, that could be possible, right? Because Oracle is everywhere. So yeah, I told myself, like, just because I wanted to reach one goal doesn't mean I need to give up another. So there we have it. The online international job hunt begins. Like, I went back home to the Philippines, although before this job hunt, like, I went back to the Philippines and thought about it, like, really, really well. I was half-hearted about everything, but yeah, I was very lucky to have my friends and family. They were really supportive about the whole skydiving thing. And the lesson for me was, it it is really important, and when making major decisions in your life, you should have a clear idea of how your future would be like. So I told myself, okay, it's possible to get a job in Dubai, um, related to my field, because Oracle, they have Oracle there, and then I could do my skydiving license there. I mean, I guess if I didn't find a job here, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, eventually I resigned in Oracle NetSuite, and I just patiently waited for an opportunity in Dubai. So I did find I mean, no, a company reached out to me, so via email, and we had multiple interviews. Eventually they liked me and I liked them. So they sent me like a plane ticket, they gave me my visa, they also gave me 2 week hotel stay, a relocation fee, housing and transportation allowance. Not to mention, like, they offered me a salary more than twice of what I was earning in that suite. So that was a good deal, but then the cost of living was really high, so it like matched as well. But then, okay, so I did accept it. So it was time to leave the Philippines. This was really hard at the time because I felt like it might have been too much of a leap for me. And yeah, I guess it was, but negativity only makes a difficult situation worse. So leaving my friends and family was the hardest part. But yeah, it's life and people grow. I mean, yeah, people grow. And I always thought to myself that I will be coming back anyways to visit. So it should be no problem. Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? So this was Feb 2020. But then pandemic came. So I arrived in Dubai Feb 21, 2020, and after 2 weeks, I started work from home because of the pandemic. But apart from that, the workload itself, I was the only technical consultant or like the developer of the company. So this was a really big step up as I was used to being like in a big team that coordinated like internally all the time. And here we were just two. I was a technical and there was this functional consultant. So it was hard because I never really had to handle an account all on my own as the only developer. But luckily, yeah, I had a functional consultant and it was nice working with her, but she was busy most of the time. So yeah, I did learn in life that you can't really reach that far if you're not willing to go there. So I had to deal with the situation and just work my way how to survive this. And during the pandemic, like work from home grew on me. And then the pandemic restrictions here in the UAE eased up a bit. So I started skydiving every weekend because the drop zone eventually opened up. But the thing is, I needed also to go back to office and I kind of didn't want to anymore. Thus, I found, or actually, I was looking for more opportunities to work from home elsewhere. I was really lucky because there were a lot of companies currently offering it now because of the pandemic and in my field. So yeah. So I resigned last January and I eventually got a job offer with a package for more than twice as much as I was earning in Dubai. And the best part is that I could work anywhere I want and I could manage my own time. And basically, I could also travel while working. I mean, provided like the pandemic is over and I have my vaccination. Like I could buy the things I want and do what I want, like when I want to do it. So all because I chose to do what I'm good at rather than to do what I love in terms of career. So that's what happened to me. And that's my story. Like, yeah, I got my dream job. Like, but then this is just the beginning. Like, this is based from my experience, and who knows, like, if I did what I love, I might not even be here. Not that I'm saying that I don't love programming, but like the sporty side in me, like, if I took that as a career choice, I mean, yeah. I know I'm definitely not the best, but life has led me here, and I guess now that I'm like a project lead in just 2.5 years since graduation, I think it counts as something. Like it's a sign that I'm doing good in this field. So there are people who are really lucky that they find success in doing what they love, but yeah, it wasn't the case for me, and I'm here to show you that in my case, you don't, you can also, like, even if I didn't get to have my passion as my source of income, that doesn't mean I can't have a happy and healthy life. So yeah. This is my experience and I hope you guys learned a lot from it. I mean, if not, then I don't know. So yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you so much, Miss Justine Claire Alfonso, for that inspiring sharing. We really should know our passions, our worth, and just live life to the fullest, especially by having a good work and life balance. Now, at this point, we are inviting some of you to ask questions. All right. Now, for our first question, Miss Justin, FEU is offering the data science track, and it is a terminology that is brewing in the field of information technology industry. How is Oracle adopting to data science? Or are you seeing data science be intact in the future of Oracle?
Yes, definitely. It's not just in the future, it's already here. I mean, it's currently happening. It has been happening since the past few years as well, like since the beginning of the technology era. I think because data science, the data is what basically builds Oracle. I mean, they started with like a database. So yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely if you're looking into that field, I would say it's a nice field.
I see, especially that since nowadays, technology is really booming, especially during the times of pandemic. Do you
Yeah.
have, yes, Miss Karen, do you have a question?
Hi, Miss Justine. I have another question here from our participant. What is the biggest
Mhm.
challenge that you face as a developer, as a young adult, as an OFW, and how you manage them?
In terms of developing and programming, like there are a lot of documentations and help articles that you will find online. Like it's just about gathering that information, and in your mind you would formulate some kind of logic to be able to come up with a solution that your client needs. So for example, your client needs an app to calculate numbers, so you create a calculator, things like those. So that's for programming side. But like as an OFW, I guess um having a sport to do, or like having my hobbies there, it really helped because I wasn't thinking too much about how far away I was from the family, although it was really hard the first few weeks because this is my first time to work abroad. So yeah.
Well, as you had said a
Hobbies would
while
help.
ago, yes, ma'am. So, as you had said a while ago, stop doubting yourself and have that good faith.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
Now for our third question from Miss. With your story, you seem fearless. But realistically speaking, everyone has his or her own fear. May I know, with
Mm-hmm.
all the achievements that you have, is there one thing that you fear the most and why?
Um, I guess the one thing that would be needles. It would be injections. Like I don't want things or anything poking my skin like that. I hate needles. So yeah, I think I'm really, really scared. Like for example, I would go to the doctor and they need a blood sample. I'm so scared, like I would cry like a baby. Yeah, I also have my fears.
I see. So,
Yeah.
but unlike other people, you're not afraid of heights. So I do hope that you will be able to overcome your fear with needles.
Mm. Yeah, that's weird.
That's correct, Miss Jam and Miss Justine. Miss Justine, for our last question, what is your
Mhm.
advice to us as a senior high school students in the midst of pandemic? How can we do the things we need to do, the studies, without abandoning the things that we also want to do to have fun?
Oh, okay, that's a tough question because during the pandemic, like it's not that you have to abandon the things you want to do. It's just that you have to put them on hold first, because it's really not, I mean, I guess there in the Philippines and here in the UAE, it's a entirely different situation, because there, I think it's really like lockdown. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's about setting your health above the things you want to do outside first or now. But I'm not saying you shouldn't do them anymore. So yeah, I mean, this could give you more time to research. You have the internet, everything's online right now. Then use it to your advantage to search and research and get as much information as you need about anything that could help you in the future. Like as early as now, you can start to map it out. I mean, things won't go exactly the way you want it, but that's life, and you have to be open to change. Like it can't always be, I need to follow this, and if something happens, like what do you do? So you have to have like multiple if statements, like if this happens, then this is what I do. Else, or like if this happens, then this is what I do. Like things like those. You have to be able to catch yourself on the event of an unforeseen circumstance arrives.
That's right, Miss Justine. As you had said a while ago, you must reach one goal doesn't mean that you'll give up the other. And of course, you have to accomplish the step-by-step process to reach your goal and get your dream job. Miss
Mhm.
Justine, may you also share with us your skydiving experience?
Yes, I actually do have a video that I could present to you. Perhaps we could play it right now. Mhm. Wait, what? No. Okay. So I think Sir Ollie from FEU will be playing the video.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, just a moment. My internet is not working properly now. Sorry.
No problem.
All right. So
So
while waiting for the video, Miss Justin, we just have a random question here. Did you ask your family's permission when you did sky jumping or skydiving?
oh, that's such a funny question. Hmm. The first time I ever did skydiving, I didn't ask permission. So don't don't do that. I didn't ask because I knew that they would say no, but I did it because I was like, no one, I don't know, like it was just me being myself. I was really careless and reckless at that time. But I knew it was safe. Like there in a canopy, I mean in your bag, there are two canopies there. So the first one is your main parachute, the second one is a reserve parachute. Now, for example, you decide to jump and you pass out, there is this automatic activation device that will open your parachute for you on the event that you are knocked out at a certain altitude. So it's safe. It's like, for me jumping off a cliff, or like like in the waterfall, like jumping there. I think that's much more dangerous because when you jump in the water, you don't know if you're gonna hit a rock. So it doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter how high the jump was. It's really the landing. So if you jump from this waterfall at this height and you land on the rock, like you would get injured, or you could even die if you hit your head really hard, as compared to if you skydive, because at this point when you're here from skydiving, you're already in your parachute. I mean, you're under the canopy and driving it left and right and trying to land it against the wind. then you're perfectly safe. Even if there's a slight malfunction, you have another canopy with you. So, yeah.
So of course, Miss Justin, you wouldn't be doing skydiving if you haven't been trained to do that. And of course, I guess your family already came into terms with your extreme hobby.
Yes, they did come into terms. Initially they were not against it. They were actually supportive, but they said that given the given the chance that I would not do it, they said, "Yeah, don't do it anymore," like that.
All
But
right,
they
I
said since
guess
I
Miss.
wanted to do.
All right, thank you, Miss Justin. I guess your skydiving video experience is already ready.
Oh, nice.
Won't you take me home? Give me wings to fly. We can run away. Castle in the sky. Won't you take me home and give me wings to fly? We can be alone in the castle in the sky. We can run away and leave this world behind. Please just take me home to a castle in the sky. Castle in the sky. Castle in the sky.
Well, that seems really fun. I do hope that we will be able to experience that soon once the pandemic is over. Once again,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Miss Justine Claire Alfonso, for that inspiring sharing and for answering the questions of our participants. Now, before we proceed, do you have any pieces of advice to our participants?
I guess the main advice I could give is to just get yourself out there, and I mean not outside the house right now because it's pandemic, but like if there's an opportunity that you could grab, even though you think you're not ready for it, just keep on going. Like, don't think about those things. You learn more about it as you are there. So
Once again, thank you so much, Miss Justine Claire Alfonso. To award the Certificate of Appreciation, may I call on Miss Jam De Jesus, Admissions Officer for FEU Admissions and Financial Assistance.
All right. Can you flash the certificate? All right. So we would like to award our certificate of appreciation to Miss Justine Claire Alfonso for sharing her valuable contribution as a speaker during the FEUY Talks with the theme Beyond Borders, given the 20th day of March 2021 at Far Eastern University, Manila. Again, thank you so much, Miss Justine Claire Alfonso, for sharing us your valuable experience. Again, thank you. All right. Again, thank you all. Thank you so much, Simple Ma'am. Thank you all for a very fruitful session. To our speaker who found time in sharing her experiences to our audience and attendees, thank you so much. We are looking forward to see you again in our upcoming series of Y Talks events, having with us the best and well-known people in the industry until the end of April. Again, thank you, everyone. Miss Justine Claire, before we end or proceed, may we have a photo op with you po? Just us as souvenir po.
okay, sorry.
All right,
All right. So to our participants, may you please open your camera for a photo opportunity with our guest speaker for today.
One, two, three. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, Miss Justine.
Thank you.
All right. So moving forward to